Hello, my dear. Today we are reacting to a video that went viral on social media of a mother basically warning other women not to have babies. As a new mum myself, I thought it'd be quite an interesting video to react to because, I have been a mum for a total of 5 minutes now. And so I do indeed feel very qualified to tell you about all things motherhood.
If you are debating having children, please stop and listen. My dream since I was a little girl was to have a baby. I wanted to be a mom. All I ever wanted was one little girl, and I was going to name her Harley, and my dream was going to be, that was it. That was the dream. I actually was given my dream. I married everything I ever put on paper for a guy that I would want. He's that and more. And then I get pregnant, and I have a daughter. I have a girl. Oh my God. Dream come true. I was like, this is great. Because I've only really ever wanted one child, and I wanted just one girl. And I was like, oh, thank you, God. I regret making being a mom my dream. And I wish that I did not have that as a dream. I have been severely disappointed with the dream. And my daughter is the cutest, most beautiful, fun, smart little girl, and I love her more than anything on this planet. I would give my life for her in 2 seconds. I would do it all over again for her 1,000,000 times over. All of that is facts. But what also is a fact at the same time is I was dreaming of a life that I had no idea what it was about. It's not just a few moments of like, no, don't do that. A few smelly diapers, and you're just gonna have this happy-go-lucky family. No, that's not reality. That's not real life.
To me, it sounds like she really romanticized motherhood just based on the stuff that she's saying. She even describes it as being her dream. She had this elaborate plan that she was going to have a daughter. She was going to name her daughter this. So she kind of had this whole vision in her head. And it's kind of like that meme, that meme that's like reality versus, or the expectation versus reality. I think, unfortunately, her reality is not meeting her expectation. And I also would guess that she probably didn't have a whole ton of experience with babies and children prior to having her own, which is actually surprisingly more common than you think. And so I wouldn't be surprised if because she didn't really have a whole ton of experience, it made it just easier for her imagination to kind of create what kind of experience it would be like. But yeah, she's definitely telling the truth. It is a lot more than a few smelly nappies or diapers if you're American. You see that? I'm bilingual.
But being a mother is the most draining experience of your life. It changes every single person around you. Every single person around you. Every single friend, every family member, the relationship with your husband, the relationship with yourself.
This is also true. Your relationships definitely will change after you have a baby. That would happen with any big life change that you have. Anytime something big happens in your life, it's going to change you as a person to some degree. And so naturally, that's going to reflect in your relationships. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to change your relationships for the worst. You just might find that your priorities kind of shift a bit and your time allocation changes a bit. For example, you might see your family more often than you did before, just simply because they want to spend time with the new arrival into the family. So you might find yourself spending more time with family. You might find yourself catching up with your friends a little bit less. And you might also find that your relationship with your partner is also challenged, which is why I've never really understood the whole idea of having a baby to save your marriage or your relationship. What are you doing? So you think that you're going to be more productive at saving your marriage or your relationship when you are sleep deprived and also have less alone time with each other?
Okay.
As adorable and as amazing as babies and children are, they definitely can test even the strongest of relationships. So yeah, I definitely would not advise anyone to ever do that. Please don't do that. Please don't bring a child into that nonsense.
I am so fat. I don't recognize myself at all. I was so much more fit before I had her. I was geared the fuck in. None of my clothes fit me.
Yeah, I can't lie to you. This is so relatable. And I think every woman can relate to this. I also think that a big part of this is because of the whole bounce back culture that we see a lot of on social media. A lot of women take a lot of pride in their ability to get their body back to what it was before they had a baby, which there's nothing wrong with. You know, it's quite a hard thing to accomplish for many people, so there's nothing wrong with showcasing it and proudly, you know, being like, this is my transformation and all that jazz. But I do think it does make some women feel a bit like they have to also do that. And I do think it's quite sad, to be honest with you. I think it's quite sad that rather than celebrating our bodies for the amazing things that the female body can do, we can't help but criticize it and be quite cruel to it for not looking the way it did before it did the amazing thing. Do you know what I mean? All I can really say to this is that you just got to give yourself grace. It is temporary, especially if you're breastfeeding. You can't go on like a diet plan like straight away, because they don't advise you to reduce your calories, because that can affect your milk supply. All you can do is try and increase your activity, because apparently that doesn't affect your milk supply. So maybe you can do exercises that you can do with the baby. Like, for example, I just go for walks with my little one. She loves it. She just sleeps for most of it. There are ways to kind of work out with a small baby. You just got to kind of be creative and kind of involve them. And yeah, but until they're a bit older, or until you are able to get back to the gym, you kind of just have to work with what you can.
I can't take a shit by myself. I can't eat when I want to. I can't go out and just get a Dunkin' whenever I want to. I can't film a video whenever I want to. I can't scream whenever I want to. I can't go to dinner whenever I want to. And let me explain this, because if someone were to tell me that with how bad I wanted children, I would have just said, I'm willing to make that sacrifice.
Yeah, I don't really know how else to say this, but being a parent and being completely autonomous is kind of an oxymoron. The moment you become a parent, you can't just do whatever you want and come and go as you please anymore. That's kind of comes with the job description of being a parent, is that you now have to consider someone else. And I don't mean this to come across as harsh, because this is not even directly aimed at this woman. This is just a general statement, because I've noticed some other people say what she's saying. But I personally have never understood why people complain that they can't have the same level of freedom to do whatever they want whenever they want after they have a child. Like, I've never understood those who complain about their loss of freedom after they have a child, because to me it's kind of like, what else did you expect was gonna like happen? Like, well, what did you think being a parent meant exactly? To me, complaining about this is like complaining that you still can't act single when you're in a relationship. But it's kind of like, well, yeah. I don't know what else to tell you. Yeah, you can't still act the way you acted before you were in a relationship, just like you can't still act the way you acted after you have a child, because that's the life of a child-free person, and that's not a life you chose to have when you chose to have a baby. And dwelling on it isn't going to change your situation, because you're still going to be a parent. So you just got to figure out a new way to live. You got to figure out a new lifestyle, and that can be quite stressful for people. I understand that. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm just saying I don't understand the point of complaining about a life you've left behind. You chose to leave it behind. And in regards to this particular woman, I absolutely empathize with her when she talks about how difficult it is to get things done when you have a baby, because I too have my own little Velcro baby. Okay, she hates being put down. She's still at that stage where she just wants to like constantly be held by someone. Actually, that's kind of a lie, because there is one time where she will let me put her down, and that is first thing in the morning, because I normally read her a story in the morning. She will normally let me put her down in the morning to go to a nursery to get a book to read to her. And that's the only time I've noticed that she'll let me put her down without crying. But that's because she knows what I'm doing. She knows I'm going to go and get her a book to read to her, so she'll just patiently wait for me to do that. Any other time in the day though, she'll scream like we're abusing her if we put her down. She's like, how dare you unhand me? Now, is it frustrating? Sometimes, yeah. Like, sometimes it would be nice to be able to put her down and get other stuff done, you know, because it's quite difficult when you're on your own. When you're with other people, like when someone else is with you, then it's fine, because, you know, you just kind of take it in turns to hold her. But when you're by yourself, it can be quite challenging, because it's hard to do stuff when you've got a baby that doesn't want to, you know, be put down, which is why slings are like amazing. Like whoever decided to just invent those and make those really easy ones, I love you. Thank you so much. But yeah, I don't know. The way I see it is, at some point she's going to grow up and she's not going to want to have as many cuddles, and she's not going to want to be around us as much. You know, she's going to want her own space and be wanting to do her own thing a little bit more. And so you just got to enjoy these moments while you can, because they don't last forever. They're not going to be this small forever, and they're not going to be like this forever. So, you know, just got to take all those cuddles, take all those snuggles as much as you can, because they're going to grow up and they're not going to want to do it anymore. That being said, I do also think that this also emphasizes the importance of mothers having a lot of support from families, partners, you know, whoever is their support system, because babies can be very demanding. And I do think that if you are doing too much on your own, it's very, very easy to burn out. Personally, in my opinion, this is I'm not going to go into it too much, otherwise this video will be like a lot longer than I want it to be. But I don't think the nuclear family is sufficient. I don't think it's adequate. And if I'm being honest, I think it probably increases the rates of divorce. But that's a whole other conversation. But the point I'm making is, I think you need family. I don't think your partner is enough. I think you need family members as well. I think you need your parents, you need your siblings to kind of help you out wherever they can. Everyone's different, and I've noticed that this is also a cultural thing as well. Within certain cultures, it's very, very normal for family members to be very hands-on and help out a lot with the baby, and for siblings as well, like sisters mainly usually, to help out a lot as well with siblings, with the baby, I mean. And I think that's really, really important, because a lot of mothers are often very burnt out. Many of them are very lonely, because sometimes as a mum, you might not necessarily need someone to help you with your baby, but you just need someone to talk to and to just kind of interact with, you know, and just even that can make a massive difference to a lot of mums. And so I do think that mums do need a lot of support. I don't think we should glorify doing everything on your own, because I think it doesn't have to be this hard. And I think it's often very hard because we're kind of we've moved too far away from the whole community look on how to do family. I think people now think that it should be just the mother and father raising the child, whereas I personally think extended family is also really important, and extended family could really make a massive difference to the pressure that a couple feels when it comes to their stress levels and stuff like that.
You don't know what you don't know. Sometimes all you have to know is that you would be a good mother. Sometimes you just have to tell yourself, if I had kids, I would be the best mom. And you would have confidence in that. And then choose to not have children. I am trying to save you. Dream bigger. Dream bigger. Do not try to make the family that you've always wanted. Don't even do it. Don't do it. Go travel, bitch. Go be hot. Go create your family with friends and experiences and yourself and your spirituality and nature. Because, hot take, it's not worth it.
Yeah, she's right. You don't know what you don't know. In the same way that you don't know how you're going to find motherhood, to be honest, until you do it, you also don't know how you're going to find living an alternative life until you do it. You don't know if you're going to not regret having kids, in the same way you don't know if you're going to regret having kids. It's just one of those things where you can't know the outcome of the choices you didn't choose, which is why it's often very easy to romanticize them before you know the reality of them. Kind of like how she romanticized the idea of becoming a mother before she actually knew what that reality is like. And now that she's actually living in that reality, she's having a very, very different experience to it than what she thought she would. She's also now romanticizing an alternative life where she didn't choose motherhood and she chose to do other things as well. And she's romanticizing how that would be. But again, she doesn't know the reality of what that life would feel like or what that reality of that life would be like, because she didn't choose it. So this is why personally I don't think it makes sense to dwell on the decisions you didn't make, because the truth is you have no idea how you would have actually found them, because you didn't choose them.
My child is the best thing in the world and I love her so much, but I hate how much I love her. I hate the things that I know that I'm capable of doing to protect her. And especially in the state of the world right now, bitch, don't do it. I am terrified for her future every day. It is not worth it. It is not worth it. Do not have children. Do not do it to yourself. There is no return receipt. She is almost 9 months old, and I am still in the trenches. The rage I have inside of me, the depression and the wanting to I have inside of me. Even with a supportive partner, even with a person that's your help, that's your village sometimes, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It still fucking sucks, because a baby for many, 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 many years, not just a newborn, for many years, bitch, they are a parasite. And that means that they will not only suck every fucking thing of your energy, but they will also suck every ounce of your soul from your body. And I would do it for her. But I'm not ever doing it again for a non-existent child. No. I know better now. I'm smart. I will never do it again.
That is some strong language, you know. Parasite. I understand why some people are uncomfortable with this whole video. I think it's still a good thing that she made it, because she is still touching on her reality, and some people can relate to it. I think it's good to have different women sharing different experiences with motherhood. I also do understand why people are like, oh, maybe shouldn't these kind of videos could be quite hurtful to your child in the future. That being said, I do think it's kind of funny how different stages of motherhood will sometimes have you so convinced you will never ever do this again. Like, I remember during my first trimester, I swore to anyone who would listen, okay, that I would never ever 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 allow myself to get pregnant again, because my first trimester was rough. I was so sick. I was so exhausted. I hated it. I said to my mom, this is it for me. This is my only grandchild contribution. I am one and done. You will never see me pregnant again. We're not doing this again. And then I got into my second trimester, started liking life again, and I was like, you know what? I could do this again. It's so weird how you forget. You go through it. You go through the trenches, and then for some reason you forget, and you're like, yeah, I could do this again. Because I feel like the same thing happened as well when I went into labor. When I went into labor, I remember saying again to my mom that anyone who does this more than once is psychotic. Because to me, I just couldn't fathom why you'd want to go through this level of pain more than once. Because that is by far, for me personally, the worst pain I'd ever experienced in my life. And I was like, there's no way in hell I will ever do this again. And now, when I'm with my baby, I'm just like, I could give you siblings. So I just think it's funny that as you navigate motherhood and you experience new challenges, some of them just make you swear you'll never have another child again. And then when that storm passes, you find yourself forgetting and changing your mind. Like, it's just, I think it's quite a normal thing, to be honest. I think everything she's saying right now, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe after all of this gets better and she's, comes out of all of this, that she might change her mind and have more kids. I wouldn't be surprised if it happened, because I don't know. From my experience, you might swear multiple times you'll never have another child and then find yourself wanting another one in the future. It just kind of happens. Overall, though, I do think that her video was really interesting. It is good for mums to feel comfortable to share different experiences and stuff like that. I do agree with people, though, that it is something that you have to be considerate about in terms of, what if your child sees it, because the internet kind of is forever, and what if they see you saying all of this kind of stuff. But at the same time, I imagine she probably will have a conversation she probably would have a conversation with her daughter about it and all that kind of stuff, because it is true. Just because you find motherhood hard or you find motherhood really, really challenging, etc., doesn't mean you hate your baby. Two things can indeed be true at the same time. I've also noticed as well that online she is getting a lot of praise from a lot of young women who view her expressing her experience as authentic, and all of these really positive things are being said about her video. And while I do think it is authentic in terms of I think that that is genuinely how she's finding motherhood, I do find it really interesting that when someone expresses a really negative experience with motherhood, people view that as being more authentic than the people who express having a really positive experience with motherhood. I have noticed that online, is that people seem very distrusting of women who enjoy motherhood or who have a really positive experience with motherhood, but people seem to be more likely to believe that the people who express negative experiences with it are being more honest and being more authentic. It's kind of like those people who only believe negative product reviews because they kind of assume that all the positive ones are always fake or paid for or something. It's kind of like the same. It's kind of the same energy, if it's negative, it must be true. If it's positive, it must be fake, kind of thing. And yeah, so I have kind of noticed that as well, which I think is quite interesting. I will also say, though, while she is expressing one reality of motherhood, her reality is not the reality. There's people will have different experiences with motherhood. Some of them will have a negative one. Many people will have very, very positive experiences. I also think it's quite important to mention that this woman does sound as though she might be struggling with postnatal depression. And no, I am not trying to be an armchair psychologist, okay? I don't know how it works in the States, but in the UK, when you have a baby, you get assigned a health visitor to come and check in on you and your baby for a certain length of time. And one of the things that they really drum into your head is making sure you understand the different emotions that you might experience during the postpartum period. And they try and make sure you understand the difference between normal emotions and emotions that kind of tip over into the postnatal depression territory. And the reason they do that is just so you know when to seek help, basically. Is because if you understand postnatal depression, then you're more likely to realize when you're in it, and then you're more likely to seek help. And so that's how I know that some of the stuff that she's saying tips over into postnatal depression territory. Like a lot of what she's saying is not normal. You're not supposed to feel like that about yourself, about your baby. You know, like a lot of the emotions she describes in this video are not normal and do very much to me sound like she might be struggling with postnatal depression. So I do think it is really important to try not to uphold her experience as the true, authentic, you know, like this is the true experience of motherhood, because of course her experience is going to be described from that lens. And so I do really hope that she's able to kind of talk to someone just to make sure that she's okay and that she's not, you know, struggling with postnatal depression, because to me it does sound like she's struggling with postnatal depression. I really hope that's not the case for her, but if it is, I really hope she's able to get some help, because it doesn't have to be like this. And for many mothers, it's not like that. And no, just because some mothers have really positive experiences does not mean they're lying or trying to glamorize it or whatever. Like, it is possible to have a great experience with motherhood. The reality is, motherhood is a very, very complex experience. We're all coming from different backgrounds, different setups, like in terms of our family, our relationships, etc. And all of these things are going to play a big role in how you find the experience. So the truth is, no one can really tell you how you're going to find motherhood, because they are not you and they don't have your situation or your background. And so it doesn't really, you should never really base whether or not you should have a child on what other people are saying or what other people are telling you, because their experience is going to be very different to yours, because you're not the same people and you don't have the same background. And all of that is the reason why I think it's really important for you, whatever decision you make, whether you decide to have them, whether you decide not to have children, whichever decision you make, it has to come organically from you, not things that people around you are saying or things that you're seeing on a TikTok video. I will also add that children have their own minds and they are their own little people. And while it is our job to guide them, it's not their job to fit into this picture perfect idea that we have in our heads of how our relationship and how our journey with them is going to go. Because I do think that that is one of the issues with some of this is, you know, creating this picture in your mind of how you're going to find having a child and how your child is going to be and how you're going to be as a mother, and then having your reality unfortunately not meet that expectation. It's not really our children's jobs to follow the scripts we've created in our heads in terms of how we want things to go, and a lot of the times things aren't going to go to plan. You know, I had an idea of how I thought motherhood was going to be, and there's been a lot of things that have definitely not gone to plan, but it's not my daughter's job to fall in line and conform to my idea of how things should go. Because at the end of the day, you're both going to kind of find your own rhythm together, and it's going to take some time for you to fully find your feet and get your bearings. But eventually you will, and it will be something that you've both created together, as opposed to you trying to force them into the picture you've painted on your own. So really at the end of the day, all you can do is kind of take each day as it comes and just kind of work things out together with your child. Because yeah, you can't unfortunately control everything, and you definitely can't control the kind of relationship or the journey you're going to have together. There's going to be certain aspects you can, but not all of it you can. And so I don't think it's fair to create this elaborate picture in your head of how motherhood's going to be and how you're going to find having a baby, and then be upset when that reality is not met. Because as I said, it's not our children's jobs to follow the scripts we write in our heads. But that's all for this video. I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, then you may as well like and subscribe if you're new here. Thank you so much for giving me your time today, and I will see you in my next video.